Dallas is headed to Detroit for another really good matchup this week. Dallas is kind of surging. Not really kind of surging. They are absolutely surging the last few weeks, ever since they lost to my Cardinals in that weird, seemingly flukish game now. They've not lost, and they are looking much better. Quinnen Williams seems to have added the missing spice to that defense, and people are getting healthy at the right time. Detroit, on the other hand, is coming down so far from at the beginning of the season, being this Super Bowl contender, juggernaut-looking team, to they're a pretty good team, but that's about it. Now they might be fighting, for a playoff spot. So let's get into this game. Michael, you're going to Detroit. What's the number one thing that you need to focus on for, let's just say, your offense in this game?
I think for our offense, it's just staying balanced. I think that's just the key pretty much for us all the time. I think it's probably very tempting to try to become very pass heavy, given the tools that we have at our disposal there. But I think staying balanced keeps pressure off of everybody, limits mistakes. So I think that's kind of the big thing there. Getting a few of those big plays out of Davis here and there. It's kind of funny in a weird way that Javonte Williams really doesn't have tons of like 60-yard runs or any of that per se this season. He's just a workhorse. He's just going to town, like getting 7, 8, 9, 10 yards. But Malik Davis, had that big run last week. I think that helps a lot when defenses have to really plan a little bit more for that. It just makes life even more miserable in the middle of the field. So that would be the thing I would say is, like, let's not become one-dimensional. Let's not get lazy. Even if it doesn't work early, we just need to keep working at it. If we don't do that, I'll be concerned early.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to stay balanced. It's also a short week, so I always feel like you need to be extra cautious about injuries on short weeks and not pushing one guy or group unevenly hard. Seems like a smart decision, although who knows if that actually makes that big of a difference. But yeah, that makes sense. All right, now let's flip it. On defense, what are you worried about that Detroit might do? Like, what's the one thing you'd stop if you could really stop one thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the textbook answer for the Lions is, where is Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? He is very dynamic. He's very dangerous. No one wants to see him. And at the same time, you don't want to see him injured. He's definitely banged up. I don't think they've said yet, and I doubt they know yet, whether or not he's actually going to play on Thursday. So that I think would normally be the number one concern. But they're a little banged up. I'm actually more concerned about Jahmyr Gibbs, who just seems like whenever he gets a small opening, is just gone. And he seems to be finding a lot of those. That offensive line has been producing those types of gaps for him to go through. So right now, I think he is the number one weapon that I'm concerned with. I don't want to lose track of anybody else, but they're pretty banged up everywhere else. So he would be my number one person I'd want to be game planning for. And theoretically, we're kind of the right team and setup right now to be tested with his kind of skills. So it'll be a good test of his defense to see, like, okay, we feel like we're better against the run. Time to find out.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's got to be, even with Amon-Ra on the field, he might be the biggest scary thing that team has at this point. So their offensive line hasn't done great about stopping the pass rush, but they have done a pretty respectable job of creating openings for the run. So we'll see how that opens up for them. It'll be a good challenge for Detroit as well. So let's look at the injuries. Who are you hoping is back? Who are you worried might not be for this game for Dallas?
I think everyone would love to see Tyler Guyton be healthy and back. I don't think he's going to be, so I think Nate Thomas will fill in again this week. And on some level, as you know, the Detroit's pass rush has not been what I think it had been previous years. They're still dangerous. They still have Hutchinson, but I think we could probably hold up again without him if need be, and just try to get him all the way healthy. There are rumors and stirrings that Trayvon Diggs will be back. If Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing, he would be really nice to have. Bland and Diggs are different in the sense that Diggs, to me, is a much more one-on-one coverage person. He is the guy who's going to knock the ball away and all of that. Bland is less scary to the receiver. I think Bland is more scary for the quarterback. He's a deterrent in that sense because if he cuts it off and picks off an interception, he is incredibly capable of getting into the end zone with that, as he is, I think, still the record for most interceptions returned for touchdowns in a single season. So they're just different in the way that they're capable. I don't see any reason to rush Diggs, especially if Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't playing. I think we should just kind of let things kind of glide along. So I think for us, that's what I would be looking at. I think for Detroit, they have a lot of injuries, or maybe not guys who aren't going to play, but guys who are not at 100% who are playing. I mean, basically their entire offensive line, I think, is dinged up with the exception of like the right guard. Tight end is dinged up, and St. Brown. That's a lot of injury to overcome. It should be an opportunity for our defense, but Jared Goff has proven many times that he is a savvy veteran. There will be a game plan to mitigate some of the risk about the offensive line or what their help may be. But I would say, for them, that's where I think we would be able to take potentially advantage of this week where they're maybe a little bit more banged up. Would be, hey, let's be aggressive, trying to get after the quarterback. Which I think we're getting better suited for. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. Well, then let's. This one seemed oddly. It'll be a really good game on Thursday night, but I feel like it's fairly straightforward. So, give me your prediction for not your final prediction, but just your standout player for this one. Like your guy with the stat line that ends up standing out at the end of it, just for funsies. Who you got that's going to have 2 sacks, or this guy's going to get 100 yards and a touchdown, or something like that?
Well, it's so hard with both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens to like flip a coin on which one's going to show up. 2 games ago, it was all George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb looked kind of iffy. Last week, it was the opposite. CeeDee had a game where he got to embarrass a corner all game. That's tough. I almost want to pick somebody, not either one of them. I do think it may not be stat line driven, but I think Javonte Williams is the linchpin probably on the offense in terms of balance. So I think if Javonte Williams gets a 100-yard game and gets a touchdown, I think he's the guy who's going to push this to maybe be in more than a 1-score lead, which Dallas has not done a lot of in the last 3 weeks. So that'd be okay to see. But I think it's Javonte Williams is the guy I would pick to be the, hey, let's try to get him moving.
Nice. Yeah, I like that one. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes with running back stats if you're looking back at a game. It's like, did he get 100 yards because that was the churning force of the offense, or did he get 100 yards because they were up by 3 scores and they ran the ball a whole bunch of times? But regardless, if at the end of this we're looking back and Javonte has 21 rushes for 110 yards and a touchdown, you probably won that game. So, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, now let's do the final prediction for the game. Do you see the Cowboys actually winning this game the way things are lined up right now? And give me just a basic score prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at where the odds were, and they had the Lions up on it. I disagree. I think that we just beat 2 teams that are playing better football than the Lions. I also don't think that they're as beat up as the Lions are. So I think that we have a legitimate shot at winning this game. I think that there's a lot of concern about, is our defense really playoff caliber against these 3 playoff teams that we're playing? Is it real, or is it just, hey, they've been playing good, are they riding a high, whatever? I just think we'll come around and hold them in place a bit. I do think this will be somewhat of a shootout, just given who we're talking about here. I think, again, Dallas should, I believe, score 30-ish points against them. So we'll call it 33 for Dallas, and we'll go 28 for Detroit. I think it'll be close. I would love to see it more of like 33-20, kind of a score. But that would be a real telling, I think, place for either how bad are Detroit's injuries or how much improved our defense is. But that's kind of where I see it. With that being said, statistically speaking, it would be fair to say that I expect that Detroit will go up in the first quarter. So we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, there is a pattern here. So, well, we'll see. Okay.
Seems like.
Well, excellent, man. I'm looking forward to this one tomorrow night. It'll be Thursday night, Amazon Prime and all that good stuff. Enjoy it, everybody, if you can, if you can. So until then, thanks for joining us. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. We'd appreciate any likes and subscribes and comments down in this comment section. Let us know what you think. If you're a Detroit fan, tell us that your team's going to win and why. Tell us about some injury we overlooked and didn't realize was going to make a big difference. We like getting into that stuff, and we like the updates because we can't keep track of everything. So really do appreciate you. I hope that you're able to join us again sometime. And until that time, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.